Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel General Hospital Official. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Who is the worst mother at General Hospital, Willow or Nellie? According to General Hospital teasers, Michael Corinthos and Willow Corinthos are fighting for custody of their two children, Wiley and Amelia Corinthos. Willow received custody papers on Monday, January 6, alleging she was an unsuitable mother and that Michael wanted his children full-time. He also stated that he would allow Willow visits, but only supervised ones. Of fact, Michael told Sonny Corinthos that day that serving Willow papers in Washington, D.C. was a strategic move, and that he sought shared custody. The kids' full-time request was made to provide for some flexibility in case Willow and her lawyer, Martin Gray, opted to negotiate. While the custody papers may be thrown out the window after Wednesday's show, as Michael was caught up in the explosion that hit Sonny's penthouse at the end of Monday's episode, this is still an excellent opportunity to get a better look at Willow's character. She's changed considerably in the last few months, and much of this can be attributed to Drew Quartermaine's influence and manipulation of her. During the Christmas week, Lucas Jones confronted Willow about her recent activities, and it was hinted that he was comparing her to her wicked twin sister, Nellie Benson, who has since passed. Since then, fans on social media have debated this. Can someone compare Willow's and Nellie's actions? The two are nothing alike, but let's take a deeper look at their actions at Port Charles. Nellie was a manipulator who crossed numerous limits. Nellie was a soap opera villain to the core, from causing the death of her ex-fiancé, Zachary Grant, to drugging Sonny and convincing him they slept together, assaulting Carly Spencer, all the schemes against Michael's family, and pretending Wiley had died only to give him to Brad Cooper, among other things. Still, everyone understood where they stood with Nellie. Meanwhile, Willow's recent acts have severely upset Michael and their family, and they have come unexpectedly. Kissing his uncle twice and lying about it was horrible. Still, it's mind-boggling that Willow and Drew thought it was okay to commit the crime on the Quartermaine nursery floor, where they could have been caught by a child or an attendant. The gaslighting of Michael when the security tape came up was pure narcissism on Willow's part. On top of it all, when the proverbial feces struck the fan, Willow gathered the kids just before Christmas and drove to her mother's house, Nina Reeves. To add insult to injury, Drew got to spend Christmas Eve and Christmas with Michael's children. Why didn't Willow stay at the gatehouse with the kids until she and Michael could talk rationally? That made no sense. On top of that, Willow's most recent action, flying her and Wiley to D.C. to see Drew's swearing in as governor, takes the cake. It's like rubbing salt in Michael's wounds by exposing their affair. She must have knew Michael would see things on television or in the newspaper, and Willow appears to have thrown all common sense out the window. According to General Hospital teasers, Willow may come to regret all she's done to Michael in the coming days as he recovers from severe burns caused by his father's penthouse catching fire. She may feel much more guilty if Michael does not survive this catastrophe. Why doesn't General Hospital air today? General Hospital began the week with a bang, literally. Viewers were startled by what happened to Michael on Monday's episode. The rest of the tale was set to unfold on Tuesday, January 7th. Last week, footage of the next surfaced, revealing a raging flame inside Sonny's penthouse. Unfortunately, GH watchers will have to wait to find out what happens because today's episode of the popular ABC soap is preempted. Because it is a nationwide preemption, no episodes will air overnight or be available on Hulu. Here's why the ABC soap has been preempted and when the next episode will broadcast. Why was General Hospital preempted today? General Hospital will not air a new episode today due to coverage of President Jimmy Carter's funeral. The former president died on December 29, 2024, at the age of 100. His life was one of service, and he left an unparalleled legacy. Things work differently with presidential funerals, therefore there will most certainly be additional preemptions in the following days. His official funeral will air on Thursday, January 9th, and we expect it to preempt General Hospital. When will General Hospital return? A new episode of General Hospital is currently slated to air on Wednesday, January 8th. It will pick off where Monday's episode left off, with each episode moving back one day this week. General Hospital watchers will discover out what happens to Michael when he is set on fire by an explosion from Sunny's fireplace. Jason instructs Sunny to dial 911 and presumably returns inside to fetch Michael out. Spoilers suggested that Michael begs Jason for a favor, which leads him directly to Sasha. Because he has yet to speak with him, we believe it will occur at General Hospital. This is Chad Duell's exit tale. His injuries will not kill him, but he will most certainly fall into a coma. However, recasting Michael is not a possibility. Given the character's role in the tale, this was shocking news. Expect periodic preemptions or pauses in the coming weeks as we transition from the funeral of President Jimmy Carter to the inauguration of the 47th president. If any programming changes become available, we will tell our readers and keep everyone informed about everything going on in and around Port Charles. The gloomy lighting of Sonny Corinthos' apartment created lengthy shadows on the walls as Michael Corinthos walked back and forth, his anger barely restrained. His voice quivered as he gazed at his father. "Dad, my marriage is over. Willow went without informing me. She took Wiley and went to D.C." Sonny furrowed his brow as he leaned against the edge of his desk, arms folded. He emanated both worry and quiet strength, and his presence dominated the room. "I am sad to hear that, Michael. But you have always been a fighter. You're doing the right thing by keeping involved in your children's life." Michael nodded and swallowed hard. "I have already followed Diane's advice. I'm going for a forceful first strike, but not to injure Willow. I don't want to punish her, Father. I only want the best for Wiley and Amelia." Sonny observed his son closely, noting the distress on his face. "I respect that, but let's be clear, Drew is the one who deserves the proper punishment. Taking Willow to D.C. was not to help her. It was about vengeance. He's using her to get revenge at you for yanking Aurora out from under him." Michael's fists clenched as his jaw tightened. Willow doesn't see it. She considers Drew to be her hero and rescuer. Sonny's tone became sharper. How could she let herself be manipulated like this? "You deserve better, Michael." Michael slumped onto a chair, head in his hands. "I lay awake at night, trying to figure out how everything went wrong. I believe Willow survives by becoming what others want her to be. It all started with the dawn of day. She shapes herself to fit the person she's with. Perhaps she was attracted to me because of Wiley, but now..." Sonny put a soothing hand on his son's shoulder. "Do not underestimate yourself. Willow loved you for much more than simply Wiley." Before Michael could react, Jason Morgan entered the room with a sad expression. He gave Sonny a deep look before gesturing toward the hallway. "We should talk. It's about business." Sonny followed Jason out, leaving Michael alone with his thoughts. Moments later, a thunderous explosion shook the penthouse. Flames enveloped the area, and Michael's terrified screams echoed as the screen went black. Willow Tate, in a luxurious hotel room in Washington, D.C., held a stack of legal documents, her hands quivering. She was pacing as Drew Kane stood nearby, concerned and helpless. "This is insane," Willow exclaimed, her voice rising in agitation. "Is Michael seeking for divorce and custody of the children? He is labeling me an unsuitable mother. How could he accomplish this?" Drew moved closer, his tone mild but forceful. "Willow, it's not about you being a bad mother. This is about Michael getting harmed. He is lashing out because he feels deceived." Willow shook her head, her eyes filling with tears. "This isn't just hurting, Drew. This is vengeance. He is punishing me for being with you." Drew moaned as his shoulders sagged. "He's angry, but don't let it consume you. We will oppose this. You're a wonderful mother, and no court will take your children away." Willow hesitated to speak, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if he presents the nanny cam footage in court? What if this ruins your career? I cannot let that happen." Drew stretched out and took her hands in his. "Willow, let's handle this together. I will not let Michael destroy us. I love you." Willow's tears overflowed as she buried her face in his shoulder. The scene was a study in fragility and determination, their bond challenged by the tempest swirling around them. Back in Port Charles, Carly Corinthos marched into Jason's coffee facility, her face filled with fury and determination. Jason hardly had time to look up before she burst into a rant. "Jason, were you aware that Willow and Wiley are staying in Drew's hotel room? What's she thinking?" Carly's voice was harsh, her words coming out in quick succession. Jason reclined on a work table, his calm manner in stark contrast to Carly's angry demeanor. "Carly, take a breath. This is between Michael and Willow." Carly scoffed and threw her hands in the air. "This is about my son." Willow had crushed his heart to pieces, and now she's parading about DC with Drew as if nothing happened. Jason sighed. "I understand you're upset, but you can't control what Willow does. Michael needs to handle this in his own way." Carly's eyes flashed. "Oh, he'll handle it okay. But I'm not going to sit on the sidelines as Drew exploits Willow to get back at Michael. This is personal, Jason. And I'll never forgive her." Chapter 4, Shadows and Secrets. Elsewhere, shadows moved through Port Charles's halls as Colette, a mysterious operator, met with Brennan in his office. The air between them was tight, full with unspoken messages. "Have you found the Rice Plaza footage?" Brennan inquired, his tone sharp. Colette nodded and slid a flash drive across the desk. "It is all there. But there's something you should know." Brennan connected the drive to his computer, his gaze narrowing as he viewed the footage. A figure with a gray ponytail appeared, stabbing a man known as Dex. Brennan froze the frame, his frustration palpable. "I can't make out his face." Colette's voice was soft yet forceful. "I did not intend to botch the Valentine task. I was supposed to follow him, not shoot him. But when Dante got involved..." Brennan shut her off. "You went rogue. Do not make excuses." The tension between them flared as Brennan returned to the footage, the ramifications of what he had discovered sinking in. Meanwhile, Jocelyn Jax waited in Dex's vacant apartment, surrounded by boxes containing his stuff. Her anguish was evident, and her actions were slow and deliberate as she tucked away the vestiges of his existence. Trina Robinson arrived gently, her presence a reassuring anchor. "You don't need to do this tonight, Joss. Let us come back tomorrow." Joss shook her head, and her voice broke. "I have to finish. He was such a nice person, Trina. And now, all that remains are these items." Trina put a soothing hand on Jocelyn's shoulder. "The police are doing everything they can to find the person responsible." Joss' eyes sharpened, revealing her resolve. "That's not enough. Whoever did this to Dex, they'll pay." At General Hospital, tensions rose when Portia Robinson approached Elizabeth Weber in her office. Lucas Jones entered, his voice subdued and frustrated. "Why suspend Liz? You know she would never hurt a patient." Portia sighed, her tiredness obvious. "It isn't about questioning Liz's motives. It's about following protocol as we figure out what happened to Sam and Dex." In the corridor, Cyrus Renaud stood near the nurse's station, clutching his Bible. As he neared Isaiah, his placid manner belied a sense of threat. "You saved Lulu's life. That is admirable. But tell me, how does it feel to play God?" Isaiah met Cyrus' eyes equally. "A skilled surgeon understands they are not God. They should not strive to be." Cyrus grinned, his remarks full of insincerity. "Perhaps. However, those who seek redemption will eventually find it." Portia appeared, her patience having finally snapped. "You are no longer welcome here, Cyrus. Leave or I will have security escort you out." Lucy Coe smiled as she welcomed the new resident to Windmere. Sidwell strolled into the magnificent estate, his charm immediately evident. "Welcome to your new home," Lucy remarked, giving him a care package. "I think you'll find Windmere has a certain mystique." Sidwell chuckled, his eyes bright. "Mystique indeed. Maybe you could show me around? As they sipped champagne and talked pleasantries, Lucy couldn't shake the suspicion that Jen Sidwell was more than he appeared. The mystery around him grew deeper as the night went on. Michael Corinthos' fiery ordeal sent shockwaves around Port Charles, causing fear and speculation among those closest to him. The leaked footage of Michael enveloped in flames has viewers torn between despair and hope. Despite how bleak things appear, there is a glimmer of hope, a chance for recovery. Michael's trip promises to be filled with grief, introspection, and unexpected turns. The explosion in Sonny Corinthos' apartment was as terrible as it was unexpected, leaving everyone rushing for answers and praying for survivors. Michael, the unlucky victim of the fire, was sent to General Hospital in critical condition. Doctors worked frantically to stabilize him, but his injuries were grave. Burn wounds covered much of his body, demanding rapid treatment to preserve his life. As Michael lay wrapped in layers of bandages, he became a symbol of both strength and tragedy. His typically bright personality had darkened, and his body bore the scars of the horrors he had witnessed. Jason Morgan, who had risked his life to save Michael from the fire, rarely left his side. During these silent, stressful moments, the two's connection became stronger. "Thank you, Jason," Michael muttered hoarsely one day, his voice scarcely discernible through the fog of pain and drugs. "You saved my life." Jason's response was as calm and steady as usual. "I was not going to let you leave. We will get through this." Despite Jason's consoling remarks, Michael faced a hard journey ahead. His burns necessitated significant treatment, and the physicians recommended that he be sent to a specialized burn clinic abroad. The offer was welcomed with mixed emotions. While everyone wanted the best for Michael's recuperation, the prospect of him leaving Port Charles was difficult to accept. Before leaving, Michael summoned Jason for an important conversation. The weight of the event was obvious as Michael attempted to express himself. Finally, he confessed a well-held secret. "Jason," Michael continued, his tone tinged with tenderness and determination. "There's something you should know. Sasha is pregnant. This is my child." Jason's normally stony demeanor softened slightly as he processed the news. "She doesn't want the Quartermain or Corinthos name influencing her life," says Michael. "I understand that, but I can't be there for her while I'm abroad. I need you to look after her. Make sure she's okay." Jason nodded, his commitment to Michael unshakable. "I'll take care of it." Sasha Gilmore Corbin, meanwhile, was dealing with her own personal conflicts. The news of Michael's leaving sent her reeling. Despite her resolve to keep her kid out of the tangled webs of the Quartermain and Corinthos families, the prospect of navigating her pregnancy without Michael's help weighed heavily on her. Her emotions became more complex as Jason began to take a larger role in her life. His quiet strength and protective personality provided a sense of security she had not realized she needed. They crossed paths more frequently at the Quartermain house, where Sasha had opted to remain temporarily. Jason's steady presence became a reassuring constant in her tumultuous environment. However, Sasha could not ignore the internal conflict that was forming. Jason was linked to everything she wanted to protect her child from: violence, danger, and the looming shadow of the mob. However, Jason had withdrawn himself from Sonny's business, leaving her wondering whether there was more to him than the life he had previously led. Jason's emotional shift was similarly disconcerting. He'd always been a guy of action, motivated by loyalty and duty. However, as he spent more time with Sasha, he became increasingly drawn to her in unexpected ways. Her drive to protect her child, her fragility, and her resilience sparked something in him. Others took note of Jason and Sasha's developing relationship. Carly Corinthos, the cautious matriarch, became increasingly concerned of the scenario. She addressed Jason one evening, her voice full of anxiety. "What are you doing, Jason? Sasha is vulnerable right now." Carly advised, "Don't let this turn into something it shouldn't be." Jason gave a controlled but forceful answer. "I'm simply following my promise to Michael. That is all." However, as the days progressed into weeks, the distinction between responsibility and personal desire began to blur. Jason found himself yearning for moments with Sasha, while she tried to reconcile her growing affections for him with her determination to keep her baby safe from the Corinthos influence. Michael was ignorant of the intricacies emerging back home while undergoing tough treatments at the burn facility. His recuperation was slow but steady, with periods of agonizing anguish and short triumphs. Jason's letters and updates kept him connected to Port Charles, but they did not give a whole picture of the emotional entanglements that had formed during his absence. The scenario resembled a powder keg waiting to ignite. Sasha's desire to be independent collided with her undeniable chemistry with Jason. Jason's unshakable commitment to Michael clashed with his developing affections for Sasha. And towering over everything was the issue of what would happen when Michael returned. Would he find peace in Jason's support and Sasha's determination, or would he feel betrayed by the bond they had formed during his absence? Only time would tell, as the lives of people in Port Charles continued to intersect in ways no one could have foreseen. Shadows of conflict at Port Hamilton. The village of Port Hamilton was alive with its typical drama, the air thick with tension and unresolved emotions. At the core of it all was a ferocious custody dispute, threatening to tear apart two lives already enmeshed in a web of past actions and present remorse. Custody at the crossroads. A cold wind swept through the streets as a mother sat in her living room, staring at the large envelope on the coffee table. The words written on the legal papers within were etched in her consciousness, making her hands tremble every time she thought about them. The letter stated that she was an unfit guardian and requested full custody of her two children. The accusations hit deep, but what hurt the most was who signed the documents, her former partner. Her ex, a guy whose love she previously believed was unbreakable, had planned this maneuver with such precision that it left her breathless. The legal request for sole custody was both a threat and a bargaining tool, intended to drive her to negotiate. While the petition for complete guardianship was unlikely to succeed in court, the primary goal was to get her to the table and make her listen. Strategic strikes. He had confided in his father the day the papers arrived, describing his actions as a deliberate maneuver. "It's a strategy," he stated, moving back and forth in his father's study. His tone conveyed a mix of frustration and determination. "I want shared custody, she needs to understand that. But I have to play hardball to get her attention." The father, who has a history of power moves, nodded with a troubled brow. He didn't completely agree with his son's ways, but he understood the desperation that drove them. "Just be careful," he cautioned. "When you open the door to conflict, you can't always control what comes through." Explosions and consequences. Before the dust from the custody papers could settle, another tempest raged. An explosion swept through the town's skyline, shattering the night's calm. Flames overtook a fancy penthouse, causing shockwaves across the community. The individual who had signed the custody documents was one among those injured in the incident. He was dragged from the debris, barely conscious, with serious burns that left his loved ones in shock. The explosion was a harsh reminder of how fast life can change and how vulnerable even the greatest ties can be. Reflections on the troubled past. As the man fought for his life in a sterile hospital ward, his estranged partner couldn't help but think about how things had gotten out of control. She was once the epitome of innocence and kindness, but in recent months, she has made decisions that have alienated those she cares about the most. Her connection with another man, who had exploited her vulnerabilities, had been a watershed moment. The whispered promises and fleeting moments of passion had felt like a lifeline at first, but now they felt like shackles, tying her to a string of regrets. Echoes of betrayal. The allegations of betrayal were not without merit. There were moments she couldn't explain, stolen kisses and reckless actions that damaged individuals she cared about. What disturbed her the most, however, was how her acts resembled those of someone long dead but not forgotten. A relative, known for her deceptive behavior and destructive plots, had left a trail of distrust. Though the two women were very different in many ways, the connections were tough to overlook. The rumors in the town only added to her burden, as neighbors and acquaintances wondered if history was repeating itself. A family divided. The custody fight and explosion left the family divided. Her children, caught in the crossfire, became unwitting pawns in a game they couldn't comprehend. The eldest, perceptive beyond his years, detected the tension and retreated into silence, while the youngest clutched to her mother, seeking solace in the only way she knew how. A reckoning on Christmas. The holiday season, which was supposed to be a time of joy and celebration, became a struggle for unresolved emotions. The woman had brought her children to her mother's house to seek shelter from the storm. But instead of finding peace, she found herself with more questions than answers. Her decision to spend the holidays away from the home she had shared with her spouse exacerbated the rift. Her partner's absence left a conspicuous hole, and her attempts to explain the situation to her children were met with uncertainty and despair. Public display and private pain. Many saw her decision to attend a public function with the man who had become her confidant, a ceremony broadcast throughout the state, as a planned provocation. The sight of her and her children standing by this man, smiling for the cameras, felt like a betrayal to her former allies. The decision to attend the event was not taken lightly. She had convinced herself that it was an opportunity to demonstrate her children's resilience and hope, but deep down, she knew it was also a method to escape the weight of her own guilt. A town reacts. The community waited with bated breath as the drama unfolded, each twist and turn sparking discussions and speculation. Some sympathized with the mother, recognizing the pressure she was facing. Others supported the father, describing his actions as those of a man battling for his family. Guilt and redemption. As the days grew into weeks, the mother came to a crossroads. The weight of her judgments pressed down on her, compelling her to face the suffering she had inflicted. The sight of her estranged lover laying in a hospital bed, is physically wounded but his soul unwavering, served as a catalyst for transformation. She began to question her path, the decisions she had made, and the person she had become. In the quiet hours of thought, she resolved to find a way to make amends, not only for herself, but also for her children and the man she had once loved. The road ahead. The saga of Port Hamilton's most turbulent family is far from finished. As they deal with the consequences of betrayal, heartache, and redemption, their journey serves as a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope. Will the mother and father be able to restore their damaged trust? Can the community look beyond the murmurs and judgments to see compassion in their struggle? Only time will tell. Port Hamilton ablaze, twists, tragedies, and interruptions. The week at Port Hamilton began with an explosion, both literally and metaphorically. The unraveling events shocked the locals' life and kept spectators on the tip of their seats. However, just as the intensity peaked, unplanned interruptions kept the town's drama in suspense. Fire that changed everything. The scene was familiar, a magnificent penthouse perched high above the bustling downtown streets. Inside, warmth emanated from a blazing fire in the hearth, its golden glow casting shadows across the exquisite furnishings. But what began as a sign of comfort soon devolved into pandemonium. The flames erupted from its limits, devouring the space with extraordinary vigor. Within moments, the scene had turned into an inferno, with smoke shooting out of shattered windows. Residents of Port Hamilton heard sirens blaring throughout the night, indicating that something awful had occurred. Among the injured was a young guy who had long been a pillar of his family's resilience. He was known for his resilience and staunch determination, yet he was discovered unconscious amidst the debris, his body burned and his future unknown. A community holds its breath. The news of the explosion traveled quickly. Conversations died down as televisions around town flashed with news about the incident. Everyone wanted to know what happened to the man who was taken from the debris. The fire was more than simply a physical burning, it was a symbol for the unrest that had been simmering beneath the surface of Port Hamilton's seemingly idyllic existence. Relationships were already strained, secrets were coming to light, and this occurrence acted as a trigger for emotions to boil over. Interrupted stories, national mourning. Just as the drama was about to peak, a national event came to a halt. The airways, which are normally filled with the beautiful themes of Port Hamilton's daily stories, were instead occupied with solemn tributes to a life well spent. A former leader, known for his integrity and compassion, died at the age of 100. The nation banded together to honor his legacy, and the timeline for Port Hamilton's storytelling was changed accordingly. This pause in the plot gave fans time to reflect, not just on the growing drama, but also on bigger themes such as resilience, family, and the transitory essence of time, which paralleled the real-life tributes being televised. Speculation and spoilers. While the fire was disastrous, the consequences of the occurrence spark even more interest. Leaked footage indicated to a key moment ahead, in which the man injured in the fire would make a poignant appeal to someone close to him. Viewers speculated wildly on what he may possibly ask. Would it include reconciliation with alienated loved ones, or a selfless appeal to ensure the well-being of people he cared about? The possibilities were limitless, and the uncertainty only fueled the excitement. Rumors of change. As the fire's aftermath unfolded, stories circulated concerning the fate of the figure injured in the blaze. Some speculated that his storyline might take a drastic turn, maybe involving a protracted departure from the narrative. Others questioned if his injuries would result in a life-changing transformation. The debates indicated not only curiosity, but genuine interest in the character's path. Many others saw parallels between his hardships and their own, making his fate a personal one. The waiting game. With episodes postponed and the story put on pause, fans found themselves in an unexpected situation. The forced stop evoked a sense of desire and urge to resume the familiar rhythm of Port Hamilton's developing story. However, it also allowed for a deeper exploration of the story's fundamental themes. The fire was more than just a plot device, it was a metaphor of devastation and renewal, a foreshadowing of transformation that would affect every element of the community's life. Behind the scenes. The unexpected preemptions provided a challenge to Port Hamilton's storytellers. Balancing the needs of storytelling with regard for real-world events needed considerable thought. Nonetheless, they addressed the work with the same care and inventiveness that had made the town's stories popular for so long. The choice to delay episodes ensured that the plot would continue uninterrupted, allowing fans to fully immerse themselves in the drama when it returned. What's ahead? As the story prepares to continue where it left off, the stakes have never been higher. The fire has left visible and subtle scars that will influence the lives of everyone concerned. The individual injured in the fire will face a lengthy and difficult rehabilitation. He will have to deal with not just bodily agony, but also the emotional turmoil that the tragedy has caused. For his family and friends, the fire will be a wake-up call, prompting them to rethink their priorities and relationships. Bonds will be tested, friendships will shift, and secrets will be revealed as the community deals with the fallout. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, so please don't forget to subscribe my channel and don't miss any update.